Hello everyone, this is Hani and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to start my first lecture on MATLAB with you. Today I'm going to show you how to download, how to install, and I'm going to show you how to run very simple code examples using MATLAB. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to search for MATLAB. When I search for MATLAB, the first link here is mathworks.com. I'm going to go here. MathWorks give you access to MATLAB as a free trial for 30 days. So you can just click here and download free trial. If you work at university or you are a student at university, then most probably there is an agreement between your university and MathWorks so that you can download MATLAB for free. You don't have to try it for 30 days. You can download it for free, usually for 1 year, and in most cases you can renew your license every year. In fact, your university or your school will renew the license, so you don't have to worry about that. If you're not a student and you are not working at university, you have to buy MATLAB or use a 30-day free trial. So let's consider you're not a student and you do not work at university. In such case, you can just try and download MATLAB for 30 days. So let's enter my email here. Right, and continue. So MATLAB is going to ask me for my email to create a new account. So this is my email. I'm going to add my location, so Canada, and then which best describes you. So I'm going to use hobbyist. Okay, I'm coding just as a hobby. I need to learn something new. Yes, and then create. Now I have an account. So in here it asks me if I have a work or school account. I should use it. So I need to verify my email. So I have to go to my inbox here, check my inbox. There's nothing. So let's see, junk or spam. Do I have something in spam? No. So please send me the email again. Let's go back to inbox. Yes, no. Yeah, I have it now. So verify my email. So now let's finish up with the creation of my account. Now it's up to you if you want to check this box. I don't want to receive any latest news about MathWorks. It's up to you, basically, if you want. But you should accept, or you have to accept, the online service agreement. Now we create our account. So here you can see that you are logged in and you are ready to download the free trial version. So again, it asks me if I want to receive news about MathWorks. For me, I don't want. I'm going to agree and then submit. There are two options here before downloading. They offer you two options. The first one is to buy MATLAB Home by clicking here. So if you're curious about the prices, you can just click here and see how it works. Or if you don't want to download MATLAB, you can try to code using MATLAB online. If you don't have space on your desk, or if your computer is not efficient enough to run MATLAB, so you can run MATLAB online. For now, we are going to just download MATLAB. So we're going here from MATLAB Essentials. It has all what we need to start coding. So basically we use here MATLAB for the beginners. What I'm saying here is what you have in this list is more than enough for this course. I'm going to select and continue and download. And before I download, I notice here that I have a license ID. This is the ID for my license for this email. I'm going to download for Windows. So I'm having now R2020P. Each year there will be A and B versions. So for example, we might have R2021A, and then after a few months we're going to have R2021B. So let's see the download file. Installing MATLAB is very easy. We are installing MATLAB now. I need to use the same email I have used when I created my account. So and provide the password. So that asks me if I agree to the license. Basically, you should read this license. Okay, before you agree, I'm going to agree, and then next. And this is the ID, the license ID that I have here. I don't have an activation code. I already signed in, and my license ID is associated with this install. So next, the software is going to be installed in this folder here. I can change it if I want, or you can just keep it in this location. So next. Now you can select only MATLAB or select everything. I'm going to select everything. It doesn't hurt to select everything. It's only about your disk space. So if you think you don't have enough disk space, you can just select MATLAB here. Next. And you can add shortcut to desktop. For me, I don't want to send any information to MathWorks, so I'm going to uncheck this box. Next, and begin install. This will take a few minutes, so see you after the install. Alright, so MATLAB is now installed. Let's close this window. And now we have MATLAB. So when you run MATLAB for the first time, you're going to see this message here. It is just stating that this is a trial version. If you want to remove this message, you just need to write CLC. And this stands for clear command, because this is the command window. If you look at MATLAB, you will see that it's divided into 3 or 4 parts or windows, sub-windows. On the left, you will see the current folder and details windows. In the middle, you will see the command window. And on the right, there is a workspace. On the top, you're going to see some tabs. Home, plots, apps. We're going to speak about each of these. First, let's start with the left window. So on the left, you will see the current folder. Current folder is showing you what you have in this folder. So it's a list of what you have, and it contains the name and the type or the icon. Okay, so we have a file here named script.m, and when you click on this file here, you should see the details here in the details window. Okay? And mainly the details of this file should be the metadata that is written. So basically some information about this file. And in this example, we don't have lots of information. But if you have an image, for example, if you have it in this folder, when you click on it, you will see some details like the size of the photo, for example, and maybe a preview of it. So let's try and copy one of the photos here. So now I have a photo. Now when I click on this photo, I have a preview of this photo with the width and height. When you come to the right, you will see the workspace. The workspace is basically storing the information about the variables that you're using during this current session. For example, if you create some variables, an integer variable named x, for example, we can do that. So let's say x, and we create, so let's say x assigned 5, for example. So in here, we create a variable named x, and we assign the value 5 to this variable. So when we hit enter, we will see in the workspace that we have a variable named x, and it has a value 5. And if you have another variable, you can create it by writing its name just like this, and then the assignment operator, and then just a value and semicolon. Hit enter. We have another variable named y, and the workspace is showing its value, which is 0. You can have as many variables as you want, and all of them are going to show in the workspace. If you exit MATLAB now, you will lose all the variables that you have in your workspace. So what you could do is try to save your workspace. You can go here and choose save, and then you can name your workspace by test, for example, .mat. Okay, we can save it here. Now we can either close MATLAB, then we are losing our workspace variables, or we can just delete or clear the workspace. How we do that? We can go to this menu here and just choose clear workspace, or we can write clear here in the command window. So if I hit enter, now I don't have anything in the workspace. But what if I cleared the workspace and I want the variables back? Imagine that I'm working for like 1 day or 2 days on a project, and this project has lots of data that I've used and modified, and I accidentally cleared the workspace. So I deleted everything. I recommend that you always save your workspace. If you've saved your workspace, as we have done, you can just reload the workspace from the file. You can go to the home menu and choose open, and open your workspace. So when you open your workspace, you will find the variables here again. So this is basically the information about the workspace menu, and there are other options like minimize, maximize, undock, and so on. So undock, for example, will let you have your workspace detached from the main window. Okay, and then you can choose again to dock it, so it's docked again. We are going to leave the workspace, and we're going to move to the command window. Basically, the command window is where you run commands. These commands have to be written in the same syntactical way that we use in the MATLAB language, if we can call it a language. So, for example, if you work on C++ or C or Java and you want to create a variable, you have to define its data type and the name, and later you can assign a value to it. In C++, for example, you could say int x, just like that, and then semicolon. This is not acceptable here. First, you cannot write just int here. In MATLAB is very flexible, so you just write the variable name and that's it. Okay, just like that. But we have already the variable x, so this is not really doing anything. Let's see how we create a new variable a, for example, a. Could we do this? No, we can't. We have to assign a value to the variable while creating it. So we can say a assigned 2, for example. Then we have a variable a. So when we work on MATLAB, we have to follow the syntax of MATLAB. Now, speaking about the command window, the basic stuff here is to run small commands like calling a function, calling a script file, or very tiny commands. When you want to write a complete code, you should write it in a script or a function file, not on the command window. Basically, this is all about the command window. We're going to have more examples as we go. Now, on the top, we have the home menu, in which you have the file menu. So it contains new script, new live script, and then new if you want to specify if it's a function or a script or whatever, and then open, and we have seen how to open a workspace, but also you can open a file or a script. You can also search for a file or compare two files. And then we have the variable menu, in which we can import data. So you could import data if it's written in a specific format, and we are going to see this while we go deep in the course. And then also you can save the workspace from here. So remember, you can save the workspace from this menu here, or you could also save it from this button here. Okay, and you can create a new variable from here, again, an open variable, and so on. Basically, I create the variables in the command line or the command window, or inside the script or the function itself. And there is the code menu, in which you can do some operations. We are going to visit this menu later in the course, but basically you can analyze the code, you can run on time, etc, etc. Okay. The Simulink menu, we're not going to use it in this course because this course is for beginners, so we are going to ignore it for now. And we have the preferences. I like to show you. So in the preferences, you can change how MATLAB looks like, and some other things like the keyboard shortcut and so on. We're not going to go over all of those, but for example, I'm going to show you how to change the font, for example. So in here, I can change this to 16, okay, and I will leave it as bold and monospace. So if I apply and then okay, the font now change it to 16 instead of being 14. You could also change the layout from here, which is the default. You can choose 2 columns just like this, or you can get back to default. I like the default one. And there are the add-ons. Also, we are not going to touch the add-ons for now because we are doing the very basic, simple programming using MATLAB for beginners in this course. And then you have the resources menu, in which you have the help button. You can read the documentation, okay, from which you can read everything or find anything about any function. So for example, square root function. Hit enter. You will see this function. You can read about the function and its arguments and so on, and some examples too. Or you can go to the community and the browser will open, and then you are inside the community of MATLAB. So if you need help or something, you can ask a question and some experts will try to answer you, and so on. And here you can also request support, or if you click to learn MATLAB, you will access the my self-paced courses, in which you can find many courses on MATLAB. So this is about the home menu. Now we go to the plots menu. So in the plots menu, basically, as I said, you can write the commands for anything. If you want to plot a curve for some data, you could just write this here. In here you can just say plot x and y. You could just do it here. You can just say plot x and y, provided that you have x and y, right? So let's take this example. So if you have x as a variable and this x is a vector of data, then you should write it just like this: 0, 1, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if you have y assigned 0, 1, 4, 9, 16 and 25, this is exactly the square of the x variable. Now if we want to plot this, we have two options. First is to select x and y here and then click on one of the plots like this one, so we have a nice plot here. Or we can just say plot x and y. We are going to have the same curve. Okay, so this is about the plot menu. We will visit it again later in the course. And then we have the apps menu, and in here we will see a pre-made list of apps. An app is a bunch of codes that were written, and instead of calling them just in the command window, you could just make a design with buttons and text fields and checkboxes and many other GUI or graphical user interface components. And then when you click on a button, you can just call a code that was written already before. If we, for example, choose the image segmenter, now we have this app. It is already written for you. So when you click on one of those buttons here, you are just calling one of the functions. So let's try to work with the image segmenter, for example, or image segmentation. We first need to load an image. So let's load it from a file. Let's say this one. So once we have an image loaded, we can now see that some buttons here are activated. Let's say we want to segment or to separate the water from everything else here in this image. So what we could do is to use one of the segmentation methods. So let's say graph cut, and it's very known method for segmentation here. So in graph cut, you just need to highlight some parts of the background and the foreground. So the foreground in our case could be the water. So the foreground here as selected, it's going to be the water. So I'm going to just do some selections here, just random. Okay, and then let's select the, and then let's mark the background. So just here, and here too. Okay, so you can see here that the water is mostly selected based on the marks that I made for the background and the foreground. So I want to select the water here, and everything else is background. This is how we segment. We can follow by creating a mask. So when we create a mask, we just say that this is only the water and anything else is just background. This is a very simple example to show you how apps work. I'm going to close this, and in here you can design your app. This, if you click on this button, so you can create a new app like this, and you can just have one button here, and then the checkbox. You can have a text field, okay, and list box, and so on. And as I said, you should associate the buttons that you click as a text field and everything here with some functions or some codes that were written that do something. And in the example of the image segmentation, the buttons, like for example, the graph cut button is associated with a graph cut function, and so on. So that's it for the apps. I'm not going to save. Okay. Now let's play around some codes and run just very few codes here and show you how to do some plots. So first of all, I'm going to clear my command, so CLC, and then I don't need those variables, so I'm going to clear. I could hit enter and clear everything, but also I can clear specific variables, so I can just say clear X. So now I don't have X here, or clear Y. I don't have y. Okay. Now, let's run some codes, very basic codes. So, as we have seen, to create a variable, we just need the name of the variable, and there are some regulations on naming the variables. I'm going to show you this in the next lecture, but for now, let's just choose a very basic name, just like x. Okay, and at the same time of creation, we need to assign it a value. So equals, not equals, but assigned 0. Okay, so now we have a variable named x, and it has a value 0. And then we could create another variable y and assign it a value 1. And then we could do some operations. We can have z as a variable assigned x plus y. So now we have z equals to 0 plus 1, it's 1, right? When you look at the semicolon, people think that it's just like Java or C++ or any other programming language in which the semicolon is determining the end of the line. But here in MATLAB, it's different. It has a different role. So the role here is to prevent the output from being written to the command window. So let's say we have another variable u assigned y plus z. If we write the semicolon now, we will not see the value of u written to the output. But if we remove the semicolon and then we hit enter, now we see the output. We see that u is now assigned 2, okay, or 2 is assigned to u. Now let's run the last few commands before we end this lecture. I will show you how to plot some data. There is one good thing about MATLAB is that you can change the variable. Not only changing the value inside the variable, but also you could change the data type and also the size of the data, which you cannot do in many other languages like C++ or Java or whatever. So variables in MATLAB are reusable. So we can just say x again is assigned a vector of data. So this vector of data, let's say, is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10. But instead of writing it this way, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10, we can, in MATLAB, we can just write 0 and then 10 like this. What this command does, this command is just creating a vector from 0 to 10 separated by 1. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. So if I hit enter like this, I have my vector. Now, I could do this with y too. Y assigned the values from 0 to 100, right? But I want y to have different values and at the same time to be the same size of x. So if I want values from 0 to 100, my step should be 10. So I have to go 0, 10, 20, and so on. So what I could do, I could just write 0, 10, and colon 100. What does this mean? It means I'm going from 0 to 100 and I increment by 10. So let's see. So I'm having 0, 10, 20 up to 100. And you see that x and y are the same size. And you can see that here. X is 1 times 11 of type double and y is 1 times 11 of type double. Now I can plot x and y. So I can say plot x and y, just like this. Now let's do some few changes. If I plot this curve just like this, I cannot have it in a report. I have to have labels, the x label and the y label. To have a label, I will show you this in a different lecture, how to use a graphical user interface to edit this figure, basically from figure properties. but for now we can call the function x label and y label, and this function takes one argument or more, but for now we are using one argument, and this argument is the text that you use for your label. So let's say this is going to be x, and we are going to call y label as being y. So let's see. So now we have x and y, and we are going to stop here. So today we have seen how to download MATLAB and install it and run few code examples. Next lecture we are going to have more examples and dive deep into the MATLAB environment, and we are going to write some script files. Thank you for watching me today and hope to join me next time.